Hello, Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing an Ask Abby, and I'm going to be answering your questions. Before we get into today's video, I want to thank Nord Green for sponsoring this segment of today's video. They are a Scandinavian watch brand with minimalist design. I've worked with them before and I absolutely love their products. I absolutely love the design of Nord Green watches, and when I saw that they had a navy blue watch, I was so excited because that is not super common and it's my favorite color. So I was really excited about that, and what was really cool about it was that I could change out the straps. You could have a leather strap, which I love, and then I could also change it out with a gold strap, which I also think looks really classic. And the reason I'm so excited to share them with you today is that if you use the code in the description box, you will get 35% off their entire website. Using my link specifically will get you the highest percentage off that you can get, which is 35% off the whole website. So exciting because their products will make perfect gifts for the holidays. Their watches are designed by Jacob Wagner, who is the former B&O lead designer. Nord Green is a sustainable and ethical brand. They are carbon neutral, so they plant thousands of trees to set off their carbon emissions. They have sustainable packaging and responsible manufacturing. They have a giving back program, so they have partnered with 3 NGOs. And you can choose when you purchase a watch which of those NGOs Nord Green will donate to. They'll either donate 2 months of clean water, 2 months of education, or 200 square foot of rainforest. The fact that Nord Green has given back has resulted in providing clean water to 11,600 households, education to 6,500 children, and they preserved 742,000 square feet of rainforest in the last year. This Black Friday deal is going from November 21st to December 1st, and if you use the discount link in my description box, you will get 35% off the entire website. That's an even bigger discount than what's available on their official website. So I'm so thankful to Nord Green for sponsoring this portion of today's video. Now let's get into it. So on my Instagram, I asked you guys to write into a new email address I created, Ask Classically Abby, and on that email I asked you guys to send me your long form questions, your questions that wouldn't fit in an Instagram box. And I wanted to hear kind of what kind of questions you guys had and offer just a little bit of advice. Now, to start off, I want to say I am not a psychologist, I am not a therapist. This is just my opinions on things, and I'm just offering what I think you should do. Now, that's not saying that this is the only option. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you think people should do and what your responses are. All of these questions are going to be totally anonymous. I'm going to change any names if there are any, and so there's not going to be any information given out in this video. So I'm just reading the emails and I'll change any information that needs to be changed so that it remains anonymous. Now, when I read these emails, many of you wrote wonderfully nice things. I'm just going to thank you now so much for the kind words. It means a lot to me, but I'm just going to read the actual questions here. But let's get into question number 1. My question for you is below. I, female 30, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, male 31, 5 years this Christmas. We have been living together the last 3 years, and it's been fantastic. We both come from families where our parents have divorced and have been through quite a lot in the past with family drama. Living together has been so lovely because it really feels like home. We are like best friends with our own routine and space without drama. I am turning 31 next month, and like many women, I'm becoming more and more aware of my biological clock. I am beyond ready for the next level of commitment and would absolutely love for my boyfriend to propose so we can become husband and wife and eventually a family. I am quite traditional and like the idea of getting married and then kids. The problem is my boyfriend never really talks about this stuff. I tried to talk to him about it before and it didn't go well at all. It seems he's nervous of marriage as his parents' marriage ended in a nasty divorce. He also said he doesn't want kids for many years yet as he has a lot he wants to achieve first. The conversation has really scared me because we didn't come to any sort of agreement at the end, and now I'm left wondering if he has no intention of proposing or taking things to the next level for many years, and I could possibly ruin my chances of ever having a family. I love this guy so much, and I'm certain I want to spend the rest of my life with him. I am truly devastated that I had to bring up the conversation nervously, and he doesn't seem to feel the same way. So first off, I really want to thank you for being so open with your question, because when I tried to create a video like this is what I was hoping for, is that people would really actually come to me with real questions, and hopefully I can offer some insight. So reading this email, my first thought is I totally understand what you're feeling and why you love him. I would imagine that if you guys have been together for this long, it's because you do have a wonderful dynamic. But the things that you're talking about, marriage and children, those things are not going to go away. And you may love this man, but the fact is your email already tells me that he isn't enough to replace those concerns and those life goals that you have. You want to have kids, you want to have a family, you want to live a traditional life. And if this man isn't willing to go the distance with you with these big life changes and life goals, then those things are not going to magically go away. You're still going to want them 5 or 10 years down the line, and you do have a biological clock. He doesn't in the same way. You do have concerns about the fact that you might not be able to have kids in 15 years, 10 years, that he doesn't have to worry about, because if you guys did decide that you wanted to break up, he could go out at 70 and still have kids and have a family, and you wouldn't be able to in the traditional way. The thing to remember is that not making a decision is still making a decision. By you not talking to him and figuring out what your next steps are, you've made the decision that you're going to stay with him, because that's just kind of where things are going to remain and stay. Even when you don't necessarily make a choice that feels like a big split or change or whatever, you're still making a choice to stay with him. By you not making a choice, you've made a choice, but the fact is, he hasn't made a choice. He could still make an entirely different decision from what you've decided, because you haven't had a conversation about it that was effective. You can love someone and have a wonderful dynamic and have great chemistry, but the compatibility aspect of what you want from your life can still be left unresolved. And that's something that is still going to be up in the air. So really practically, what this comes down to is you do have to have a conversation with him, and you have to be ready to hear what you don't want to hear, which is that he doesn't want to get married, he doesn't want to have kids. And if he says those things, then you have to know and decide, is that a deal breaker? Is that something that you can live with? And from the way you wrote your email, I would guess no. I would guess that these are deal breakers for you. And even though that's really scary and you're breaking up with someone that you've been with for this long, those are things you really can't get over, is having a family, having children, and having that meaning in your life. But all of that said, if you have this conversation, he could rise to the occasion and end up surprising you. He could end up saying something about him wanting to get married and having kids, but you won't know for sure until you do have the conversation. And it's always possible that you'll get the outcome that you're hoping for. So until you have the conversation, you're gonna be on tenterhooks, you're gonna be anxious, you're not gonna know what's going to happen. Having the conversation might end up being more painful, but it also might end up giving you the answer that you want. And just knowing is really important, not only for your future decision making, but also for your mental health, because at least you're not trying to just kind of figure things out in the dark, and that's much harder. So I wish you the best of luck with this. I really do hope you figure out what it is that you want, and good luck with it. The next question says, my husband and I have been together for almost 6 years and friends for 14. Needless to say, we're each other's center. However, fertility issues are breaking me, and I'm afraid it's starting to affect my husband's well-being as well. I have a condition called Turner syndrome. One of the side effects of this is early menopause and a lack of egg production. Unfortunately, this means that I will not be able to conceive my own children. Whenever I pictured my life, especially with my husband, we had children, family traditions, vacations, and a bustling and loving home. We are very open to adoption, and 2 good friends have even offered to donate their eggs so we could start a family. The only issue with either of these options is the exorbitant cost involved. My devastation over the idea of not being a mother has caused several fights with my husband and put so much stress on him. I feel awful about that, but my heart is just broken. It's even gotten hard to be happy for expecting friends or to attend baby showers. I don't know exactly what I'm asking, but I know I need help and your wise guidance. Whew, that is a really, really difficult situation. I can't imagine what kind of pain you guys have been going through. And I'll try and offer some insight to what I would think you guys can do. So the first thing that I want to say is that this is the kind of situation that it would make sense that it would be breaking you. This is an incredibly heart-wrenching situation, and I can only imagine the suffering and the pain that you would be in from something this hard. The thing that I think would help me, and I would keep in mind, is turning to God, having faith in God, treating my faith as a life preserver, and knowing that I have to have faith, because my relationship with God, no matter if I was in the situation or not, that is my relationship with God isn't going to change. He's still going to love me. I'm still going to find my purpose and meaning in serving him. And those things can help realign you and guide you in these moments of incredible pain and turmoil. My next piece of advice is that remember that you and your husband are in this together. This is something that you are facing as a team. This is something that neither of you are, wrong here. You guys are working together to solve it. So treating each other and going to each other for support, and then looking at this as the problem and solving it together, that could hopefully bring the two of you together to solve it. Because you don't want this to push you away from one another. You would want to use this as an opportunity to really find love and meaning in your relationship and hopefully get stronger in this process. Now, practically, if the issue really does come down to the cost, you should try and do everything possible to figure out how to make this work for you guys, to put in the effort so that you can have a family. Even if you adopt just one child, that'll be life-changing for you and your husband. And that kind of investment is so worth it. I'm sure you know. So figuring out a way to make it happen, that is going to be just make all the difference for the two of you. So first, if that means going to family and friends and telling them that this is something that is so important to you, I'm sure they would want this for the both of you. And going to them first and foremost, seeing if they can help financially, that's your first step, right? And then next step would be going to your religious community and getting the word out. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I know that this could be something that you wouldn't want to necessarily share with a big group of people, but if it matters to you to have a family, then you may have to rethink that feeling and realize that it's worth you overcoming that feeling so that you can start a family. So going to your religious community and seeing if they can help financially, if there are people who are willing to donate, if people want to help you guys start this family that means so much to you. And I know personally of some people who have gone online and even started GoFundMes, crowdfunding, so that they could, again, try and get enough funds so that they could do a surrogacy or an IVF situation, or for you guys, maybe adoption. And just figuring out how you can make this work for the two of you, I can only imagine how much happier you'll feel just trying to take steps in this situation. But again, I wish you guys the best of luck. I really hope that you guys can figure this out and start a family, and I'm sure that that would bring you so much joy. But I do want to finish with just keep in mind that your faith is what's going to bring you through, no matter what hardships we all go through. Having faith in God and knowing that your relationship with God is what's going to serve you and serve Him, those two things will just really get you through the hardest of times. Let's get to question number 3. For context, I am 21 and in my first year of grad school. I've really struggled with relationships. I've only ever had one boyfriend, and that relationship lasted about 1.5 years from my senior year of high school to my first year of college. Since then, I've been asked out many times or had guys interested, but they either don't share my faith or they did share my faith, but have just lacked serious character qualities to the point that when I turned them down, they became super vindictive and even turned around and attacked my character in public. All of these escapades have been so crazy and almost unbelievable that my mom literally claims my life could be a Lifetime movie. Meanwhile, there have been many guys at church over the past few years that I have liked and have noticed are really quality guys and have great character. The catch is that none of these guys have ever asked me out. I want a guy who will pursue me, so I'm hesitant to try and make the first move or ask the guy out. Any advice for trying to attract the guys that I'm desiring to date without being too forward? Also, I'd love your advice on ways to meet guys who share those core values and faith, as I feel like I'm hitting a dead end at church. So I totally understand your question here. I think I felt the same way when I was your age. I felt like all of the guys that were interested in me were not the guys that I could really date. They were guys who didn't share my values or who didn't share my faith, and I just couldn't get the guys who I was actually interested in, who did share my faith and my values, to be interested in me. So I very much understand your problem here. Now, whenever I read these kinds of questions from you guys, I don't necessarily know exactly what parts of the problem are external and are being caused by other people, or are internal and maybe are things you have to work on. And so looking at your email, I can only give you advice about what you can change and what you can improve. And the fact of the matter is that's kind of true all the time. Most of the time, we can't change what's going on externally. We can only change our own decision making and also our own inputs in a sense. So I'm going to give you some advice about what you could do to attract the kind of guy that you want. I think the thing you have to try and figure out is, what are you projecting? Because I know that I was not projecting the kind of values and faith and life goals that I really had. And so the guys who were attracted to me because of my personality, and there was the chemistry there, but they weren't attracted to me from the compatibility perspective. They didn't look at me and immediately assume that my faith and my values and the things that I wanted out of life were important to me. They just thought that, oh, I was a fun person to hang around with. And then the guys who did have really strong values and who really did have strong faith didn't see that. Again, they kind of were equivalent. They didn't see that those were important to me, so they didn't express interest in the same way. So a good example of this is the fact that I was an opera singer, and I was very proud of being an opera singer, and I was very open about being an opera singer. And I, of course, am still an opera singer, but at the time, that was my major life goal. And being an opera singer is not conducive to having a traditional family life. It's not conducive to having a life where you can really be at home and be a good mom and be around your spouse. You're traveling a lot, and it doesn't necessarily reflect on your faith or your values. And so the people that I was theoretically interested in saw, oh, she is an opera singer. She's not going to be interested in the same things that I am. She's not going to share my values. She's not going to share my life goals. The guys who were interested in me thought that, hey, she's an opera singer. She doesn't really care about getting married. She doesn't really care about having a family. And maybe she's even liberal. She probably doesn't even have conservative values. And I was very lucky in the sense that I met my husband actually while I was still being very open and loud about being an opera singer and hadn't shown to the world that my values mattered to me. And my husband and I met. We hit it off chemistry-wise. And when we talked, we realized that our compatibility was great too, because he did look past that immediate, okay, well, she doesn't necessarily have conservative values or faith. He didn't know that I did right off the bat. He asked, and that was what allowed us to progress and our relationship to grow, because when he asked those questions, it also had me thinking about those questions and thinking about, okay, does the opera singer lifestyle really make sense for the life that I want? Now, you're asking the right questions at the right age. You are asking the question of, how can I get the guys that I'm interested in me too? And to do so, you need to project that you are somebody who cares about the same things that they do. And it's possible that at this point that you're not projecting those things. So consider, is there a way for me to show that my faith matters to me? Is there a way for me to show that I want a more traditional lifestyle? Is there a way for me to show that my values are important? Are you dressing in a way that's not reflecting what you believe? Are you talking about your career in a way that's showing that you have your priorities in order? Those kinds of things are going to attract the right kind of guy. The other great thing is that by being part of a church, you're already part of a network. So you can ask your friends and your guy friends and your girlfriends, what kind of vibe am I putting out that would not attract the kind of guy that I want? And what kind of things can I do more of to attract the kind of guys that I would like? And your friends can give you an insight into your behaviors that it's very hard to get on your own. So relying on your friends, relying on your family members, relying on the other people at your church who you can get some words of wisdom from, they can offer you a little bit of guidance in the situations where you might not necessarily notice that you're putting out a certain vibe. The next question is, what are your thoughts on women keeping their maiden names or hyphenating? I am nowhere near getting married, but I think about this from time to time. I don't see any issues with a woman taking her husband's last name or children having their father's last name, but I feel like I would be letting go of part of my identity. My last name is really important to me, and I can't imagine being called something else. I feel like a lot of women feel the same way, but just go with it because it's what everyone does. Then again, I can't imagine having kids one day and having a different last name than them. Right now, I feel like hyphenating is the best option for everyone so that the woman can keep that part of her identity, but also share the family name. But I'm interested to know your thoughts. I think this is a really interesting question, and I think there are a lot of women who are more traditional, but in 2020, this is something that a lot of women think about, is that, should I be taking my husband's last name? Is this patriarchal? Am I losing a part of who I am? As someone who readily and happily changed my last name to become a wife, I am somebody who is a huge proponent of taking your husband's last name. I also can understand the idea that I very much was tied to the last name that I had before I got married. But when I met my husband, I was so excited to start this new chapter of my life and to respect my husband by taking his last name, and the fact that the two of us are now joining our lives together. And by taking your husband's last name, you're really saying, this is my family now. This is my family now. Yes, I'm still my parents' child, but this family is the family that we're going to start together and as a team. And I think it's a really special gift that we as women get from our husbands. We get their last name. Now we are a part of their family, and our children are going to have our last name as a couple. And also it's a gift that you can give to your husband, that I respect you and I want to be a part of this family that you are now the father of, and you are my husband. And I just think it's a really beautiful gesture on both people's end to have the same last name and to start that family that the two of you are going to build. The next question is, my fiance and I are really young, 19 and 21. We know we want to get married though, and we are set on planning the rest of our lives together, no fear of future separation of anything. We're also very devout Christians, or at least always trying to be. Thing is, he wants to just get married now while we're in school, still living in our parents' homes, because he can't wait and wants me to be his wife already. But he still has 1 to 2 more years of school, and I have about 3 or 4 grad school. I'm not even sure if I can manage to make sure we can have a wedding when I'm in graduate school because of how busy I'm going to be. I'm also a little anxious about getting married because I just can't devote a lot of good thought to it right now. I want to be in control and do what I would like, not just let my mom plan the whole thing while I'm away in school, basically. So I guess my short question is, my fiance wants to get married soon, but I'm not sure that I have the bandwidth to devote to it right now, school, anxiety, etc. How would you discuss marriage and patience with him in this situation while still being loving? It's a hard situation, but we usually just avoid talking about marriage altogether because it's become a bit of a sore subject until I feel confident enough about my ability to devote time to it. I feel bad, like I'm the one causing the trouble with my anxiety. We love being engaged and we both want to be married, but there are bigger things in the way and we just need to be patient. Praying that God will see things through for us. It hasn't been easy, but we know it will be worth it. So I think this is a really interesting question, and one that I'm sure has put stress on your relationship and makes things difficult. So the first thing I want to say is that being engaged, in my opinion, has made this situation a little bit more difficult. Getting engaged is like standing on the edge of a diving board ready to jump in. That's how it feels being engaged, is like, I'm ready to do this, but I have not done it yet. And that's why long engagements are really hard on people because, again, you have all those downsides of marriage, the stress of planning a wedding, the stress of being committed but not really being committed, the stress of knowing you made a choice but not being able to live together, without all of the upsides of marriage, which is living together, having that commitment, being able to consummate your relationship. I mean, being married is a great thing. Being engaged is really hard. So you guys being engaged and not having a wedding date, I would say would probably make you guys even more stressed about this than if you weren't engaged at all. And that does make things trickier. And what I realized when I was reading your email is that it seems like a lot of your argument is about the wedding planning. And for somebody who doesn't care about the wedding, I don't know that your fiance feels this way, but a lot of men don't care about the wedding. They just want to get married. So you continually saying, I am stressed about planning the wedding, I want to have a wedding that looks like this and feels like this, that's not going to be a convincing argument to your fiance, who doesn't care at all about what the wedding actually looks like. He just wants to be married to you. And trying to explain to him that the wedding is important to you, that may not be the best way to get across to him that this is too soon. Also, for somebody like me who thinks that weddings are a very nice thing and are fun to plan, they also aren't the most important thing. The marriage is. So he may not understand why the wedding does matter to you because he just wants to be married to you. But from the way it sounds in your email, it sounds like if you guys were to get married right now, you would still be living apart and in your parents' homes, not living together as a sovereign couple. And that's what marriage is. Marriage is about being a sovereign couple and being able to start your own family. That's why people get married, and that's what the function of marriage is that the two of you are going to get married so that now you can support each other and support whatever children you have. So you guys getting married and then not living together and not actually having your own home, that doesn't serve the purpose of what marriage is for. And it is really hard in today's day and age when we are investing so much time into school and into education, where it feels like, well, I should just delay and delay and delay until I'm out of school and done with everything, and then we can get married. And I'm not a proponent of that. I don't think that people need to wait until they're done with their education to get married, because your education can take many, many years. And you don't want to have a situation where you're 30 and you guys are not married yet. Now, you guys are very young still, but that is something that happens pretty frequently in our culture, where people don't want to get married until they're out of school and done completely. But the two of you should at least be living on your own when you get married. If you can't live on your own after you get married, then it is too soon for you to get married. You guys need to be able to have your own place, start your own home, and really just begin your life as your own family. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you guys have to be doing this all on your own without assistance, that your parents can't be assisting you at all, and that all of your school loans need to be paid off, because again, it is hard in today's day and age to do all those things as a young person, and getting a little bit of assistance so that you guys can have a life together is not out of the question. It just means that you guys need to figure out, when will we be able to have a sovereign family? And that is the conversation that you guys should be having. Not about the wedding, not about the party, not about the planning, but about, okay, when can we actually have a married life that means marriage? That doesn't just mean we have rings on our fingers, but really means, okay, we have started our lives together. Well, I have so many more questions here, but I have been sitting in front of my camera for about an hour and a half, and I think I'm gonna have to call it quits here. I was planning on doing 15 questions, but 5 I think is just gonna have to do it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these questions, what your advice would be. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think I'm gonna do a series of these because I did get quite a few more questions that I'd love to answer. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please subscribe to my channel and blog if you haven't already. Head over to my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook and follow me there. Hit that notification bell to get notified of all my new videos. Hit that like button. Please head over to classicallyabby.locals.com if you'd like to support my channel, see more of this content, and be part of our community. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!